Well, Steve, it's so great to chat with you. How are things going on your end? What's it been like for you during the past couple of years?
Of that lockdown thing, but last year we did, a lot of gigs, um, and we did our first four gigs about 3 weeks ago, something like that.
Oh,
So
nice.
yeah, just waiting for the next bunch to start. So yeah,
How long has it been since you've been to the States? I know you've been here at least a couple times. I try to keep up with all the shows, but it's been it's been
yeah, well,
interesting. Yeah.
yeah. Well, we were there last year actually,
Mm,
and that was where that was that. That was on the East Coast.
mm, mm.
Um, and so we're coming back to the States quite soon, actually. April. Hang on, no, May.
May.
April, May.
Hmm, hmm.
Yeah.
And
Um, and that will be. I'm afraid that's going to be not a big drama or anything, Oh my God, but it's going to be the last time I perform in the States
mhm.
because it's so incredibly expensive. For the work permits. The only reason we're doing these gigs, well, not the only reason, but our work permits last until maybe July of this year, so we might as well just try to use them up, while we've got them. But after that, to go through that again, it's just an extortionate amount of money you pay, and then there's the tax thing and everything. So and it's not only us, Elsha. It's also since this stupid Brexit thing that happened over here, European bands are finding it very expensive and very difficult to come to England.
Hmm, hmm.
The whole knock-on effect of the whole thing is, every band is struggling. I think, so
Yeah, I'm so sorry to hear that. I haven't really talked to anybody about it, so I'm glad that you're bringing it up just so people know because it's like, hey, what happened to that group? They're still around, but they just you're gonna have to go to their country to see them play, it sounds like.
yeah, I think a lot of bands are sort of, feeling a bit embarrassed because it might seem, oh, why, they're going there. Why aren't they coming to America? And
Hmm.
it's just a simple reason, that it's the expense. You're struggling to break even. Honestly.
Yeah.
Um, but Steve, it's not all about the money, is it? No, it's not. But if I'm paying all that money for bloody work permits, I want to get the bloody stuff back. So
Absolutely. Yeah, we want you to make some bang for your buck, I guess is what they say over here.
yeah,
Well, fantastic. And you're going to be playing May 8th at the Great American Music Hall. Some group named Nix is going to be opening.
yes,
That sounds like it's going to be a fun evening. I just went to see the Buzzcocks played at the Great American, so
right, okay. How was it?
it was amazing because I guess they hadn't been here since before the pandemic. And, Steve was, I'm sorry, Pete was still alive back then, so it's like a
Yeah.
different lineup. And I'm sure you've had that as well with your group, how things have evolved and changed over the decades, right? With the different lineups and people that you collaborate so much and so forth. What's that been like for you?
Well, pretty interesting. I mean, I have to say that I was ready to, me and my big mouth. I did this concert called, I did a concert called The Last Supper at Shepherd's Bush Empire way back in 2012. I'm never going to do Crash songs live on stage again. Bloody idiot, talk about shoot yourself in the foot or whatever it is. Um, but anyway, I was quite ready to sort of jack that in. I thought, well, the time for me doing that has come. It's getting a bit embarrassing, maybe it's a bit old, that sort of thing. Um, but having said that, I mean, the shame is that so many of the songs are still relevant in this day and age, which in one way is good, but in another way is really horrible. Because nothing's changed it. Um, but what's really keeping me going with this at the moment is this amazing bunch of people I've got working with me. I mean, I've never, since Crash, I've never um, worked with such, you know, I don't know how they've done it, Aisha, but um, and they did it on their own. I said to them, "Look, you're the musicians. I'm just a mouthpiece. I'll just do what I do. You do what you do, and whatever you want to do with it, you do it." Somehow they've managed to make the Crash song sound completely fresh and
Hmm.
new. So that for me to be doing the vocals for it, it's like it could have been started 2 months ago or something. It's re-energized me to do it. And I think it's not what the beautiful thing is that they're not copying or trying to be like a tribute band of Crash. It's
Mhm.
a younger person's version of what Crash. We'll have to see it to sort of get it, if you know what I mean. But yeah.
That's fantastic. If you don't mind me pushing you, what do you mean by nothing has changed? I'm just curious your perspective on that.
Oh, just generally, look, we've still got wars going on. We've still got
Mm.
child labor. We've still got poverty. We've still got slave labor. We've still got sweatshops. There's still the rich. There's still the haves and the have-nots. I mean, if you
Mhm.
pick up a show, if you after with this interview, if you read Charles Dickens, I know he was an English writer, but or if you read John Steinbeck, Grapes of Wrath,
Okay.
then what's just change the names and just change the names of the cars or the politicians or whatever, and it's still there. So that's what I mean by it. You know.
I would say truer words have not been spoken recently.
Oh, thank you. What, me or John Steinbeck?
Probably both.
Yeah.
That's great. And have you been working on new material? Have you been recording?
Yes, I have for the other project that I work with, Slice of Life, which is a semi-acoustic thing. I've been just sort of my usual thing of plonking about on the keyboard, coming up with like three chord wonders, waiting to take it to Carol Hodge, so she can work her magic on it. So yeah, I've got some really basic things there. But it's very difficult to concentrate on it when I've got all this crash stuff crash band stuff to do. So really, that's on the back burner. So next year, I'm hoping to sort of maybe wind down a little bit, so it gives me time, to really work on the slice of life stuff. I mean, I could, oh, Steve, why didn't you do it when we was all in the pandemic and locked up? Because all I could think about was the bloody pandemic, and everyone else was writing about that. So I could. So anyway, yeah, that's
Now we're getting back out there again. It feels like, oh, we're kind of getting back to whatever this quote unquote new normal might be, right?
well, yeah, absolutely, yeah. What is normal? I don't know anymore. I mean, if I'm on the outside, I'm glad to be.
Yeah, exactly. It sounds like you still live in the UK, is that right?
Yeah, yeah, still live in the UK. Yeah, yeah.
And what would you say was your biggest inspiration for starting Crass in the beginning? What was your motivation behind that?
I think a sort of combination of things really. It was going to see the Clash for the first time in a town called Bristol in England, and just being absolutely blown away by it. I mean, and when Joe Strummer at the end, bless his heart, when he said, if you think you can do better, start your own band. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna. And I didn't know I was going to do it, and just wanting to be a part of that. I knew that punk. It wasn't a movement at the time, but the punk thing. I knew that was for me. That was my time. Um, so that was it really. And also, well, the punk thing, it meant that even though you weren't a musician, you could still be in a band. People wouldn't, well, people would laugh at you, but so what? Um, and it meant that at last I could start sort of experimenting, um, and sort of, hoping one day that I'd be able to write songs like, Leonard Bernstein and Stephen Sondheim. I haven't done it yet. But to be able to write something like West Side Story, I mean, my God,
Do you watch Maestro? Maestro?
I'm sorry.
Did you watch the film? I think it was called Maestro. Maestro. I think it was based on his life. Leonard Bernstein.
Oh no, I've not seen that. Oh, I'll look out for that.
Yeah, it
Oh,
was pretty good. Carey Mulligan plays his wife, and shoot, what's the name of that actor? I'm gonna forget now. Bradley Cooper plays.
okay,
Yeah, I was like, this is quite good.
right, okay. I'll check
For,
it out.
yeah, for for a Hollywood film, I was like, oh, you must have seen that film. It just came out a couple months back.
Ah,
And where can people find out more about you online? Is steveignorant.com the best place to stay up to
yeah,
date?
yeah, definitely. Yeah, yeah, definitely. That's the one. Yeah, go to that the official website. Yeah. Yep.
And what can, this might sound a bit forward, but what can people expect from the shows, the upcoming shows here in the States in terms of material? Is it going to be kind of a mixture of old songs and new songs, that kind of thing?
Oh, that sounds a bit forward. No, I'm joking. No,
I just had to ask.
no, I'm joking. No, it's gonna be it's gonna be a full on crash set. Like it's gonna be like a fucking juggernaut coming at you at 100 miles an hour. So yeah, hold on to yourselves because this is gonna get it's gonna get very airy. So yeah,
We need that injection here, especially in California. We need something that's going to wake us up because we have some important election coming up in a few months. So
oh God, yeah, yeah, oh God, yeah. I'm sort of I've got this sinking feeling. I know what's going to happen. You know, I really hope it doesn't. But you know, don't worry. We've got the same problem over here, so we understand what you're going through.
yeah, yeah, it's like trying to be positive, but also, having frank conversations with people, especially here in San Francisco, and I'm sure where you are as well, about the way things are going and how, changes. I guess
Yeah,
50 years ago or 45 years ago, it was like, yeah, that would be nice, but now it's like,
yeah, yeah,
um,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Without going on too much about it, it's like, well, who the hell am I going to vote for?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah,
Because
that's
they're all the same. It's like, I don't.
it's so true. It's so true. The parties that I voted for 20 years ago are definitely not, it's definitely more apparent now. Like, hey, things looked a certain way back then, but now it's like, yeah, you can't really hide it anymore. You guys are pretty much,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. A different title, but the same bullshit. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
Mhm. But
Anyway, don't let's ruin our Tuesday. You know, let's go on to a positive note.
yes, positivity. So what music are you listening to at the moment? What has inspired you?
Well, over the years, all different stuff, but at the moment, I'm listening to a lot of film soundtracks.
Oh,
So yeah, so I mean, I'm not listening to them on DVD. Well, I'm watching DVDs, watching films, but listening to the soundtracks. And because I realised that maybe a few years ago that my inspiration for music has actually come from films, and
oh,
I didn't realize that before. You know, the fact that I watched a movie called, for example, Alfie. That's the original one with Michael Caine, not the bloody remake. Um, and yeah, and the music was done by Sonny Rollins, and I never knew that. So later on, I started listening to a bit Sonny Rollins, and I was like, oh, that's quite interesting. Which then moved me on to Miles Davis, which then moved me on to this. Um, so it, so I'm really into film soundtracks actually because I think with again going back to slice of life, I think with that what I try to do with the music is to create an atmosphere, which is what which soundtracks do to a film, if you see what I mean. So
mhm. And
sort of makes sense.
would you say it creates a certain vibe, like a certain, way of feeling or emotion? I feel like that's missing a lot from music today. That was probably something that people really appreciated, in previous generations. Unfortunately, mine not so much, but maybe it could make a comeback. I'm going to be positive about it because I enjoy soundtracks as well. I like, just like, for instance, I've been listening a lot to the band Underworld. Do you know that? Do you
But
know them?
no, no.
They started out in the 80s and then I believe they were more experimental, like techno house, but then they kind of blew up because they were on the Train Spotting soundtrack in the 90s.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah,
And yeah, they've just been around ever since. And I'm like, damn, like the more I listen to their back catalog, I could definitely see how Danny Boyle was like, yeah, we totally need that in the film. And
yeah,
it just create that certain vibe. I can't think of a different word.
yeah. Yeah, but yeah, well, I mean, I think maybe what the problem is that maybe a lot of people are afraid of being seen as being cheesy. Um,
I like that word. Yeah.
yeah, but I mean, it's like, I've always been into Burt Bacharach, you know, because that was the closest thing I could find growing up to the soundtrack of West Side Story, for example, because it had
Uh-huh.
trumpets and it had violins. So for me, Burt Bacharach, it's always been there. I think he's a great, songwriter. All right, some of the lyrics are a bit dodgy, but passe. But and I don't think there's anything wrong with using nice melodies and nice chords. If I mean, I sometimes how do I feel? Do you know what? I fancy a really good cry. I'll go and put this record on, and then boo hoo boo hoo, and then today I feel like getting really excited. Okay, I'll put the Cockney Rejects on. Oh, I feel like I'll put this on then. So it's music really it's a great thing, and I don't think we shouldn't be ashamed of doing nice things, making nice sounds. There's enough bloody horrible sounds out in the world today. Why can't we have some nice ones? So that's what I'm doing. And if you don't like it, fuck you.
There- There's the punk rock attitude I was looking for.
Oh yeah, it never goes away.
What would you say looking back, what's the biggest misconception about punk rock? What do you wish people knew about Crass or the scene or anything like that? What do you think is missing in terms of people's interpretation?
I think the main thing is that people should stop thinking of punk rock as the Sex Pistols, the Clash, Susan the Banshees, Generation X. Yeah, 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 yeah. And people still to this day think, oh, punk rock. Oh, I'm not going to that. Why? Well, spit on me. You know, no, it's punk rockers who come to my gigs are in their 50s and 60s. They can't jump up and down no more, so there ain't gonna be no fighting. They that ain't gonna spit on you. That was never a thing. That's the misconception, all created by the media in this country, and I think that's the great shame. And it's it's a great shame that punk rock isn't recognised for being a champion. For example, for promoting vegetarianism and veganism, for trying to promote equality between male, female, and gender. It's been trying to stop this racism thing. It's there, and it's never given that credence. It's always the same old thing. Oh, punk rock, Sex Pistols. So there you
Oh,
go.
what about the Slits and X-Ray Specs? Those were my role models.
Well, absolutely, yeah. I mean, there were bands out, but I'm just saying that don't, there were lots of other bands that came along. There was I don't know if the Americans have heard them, but there's a band called Hagar the Womb, and the female singer in that was 15 years old when she started, driving around in the back of a transit, talking about women's rights. Yeah,
Mhm.
I mean that's an amazing thing. What 15-year-old kid doing that now? I suppose they're out there, but so all I'm saying is that it moved on. It's don't and also don't think of punk rock as being crass and the subhumans and all that because I'm sure it's moved on for the younger generations. It's their idea of what punk rock is. You know,
Yeah, I definitely see the inspiration with some of, I guess you would call it Gen Z now. I'm a millennial, so I could definitely see the inspiration kind of, crossing over through the years. So I think it's definitely still around, but like you were saying, it's definitely evolved. Yeah. I'm wondering if the message is the same, but it's definitely still around. So I feel like that part is positive.
yes, and and it doesn't have to be. The message doesn't necessarily come from someone where with spiky hair and wearing a leather jacket and with studs in it and stuff. It comes from the attitude of the person. So there's no reason why you know, a classical uh, composer can't have a punk rock attitude. So you look at Benjamin Britten and Peter Pears, you know, to I'm using their terms as they spoke in those days, back in the 1940s, two homosexuals um, who were conscientious objectors, went to America and wrote an album called the War Requiem, which was Wilfred Owen's poems about and now if that's not punk rock, you know, I don't know what is. So you know, it comes in all shapes and sizes, you know. So don't read a book by the cover, or don't, no, what's the don't judge a book by the oh fuck it. Flick through it first, see if there's any pictures, and if there ain't, throw it away. That's the best way of reading a book, right?
Yeah. I think some bands I've talked to from the same era are like punk rock is even a misnomer. Like even having a title is like not really part of the mentality. Like
Yeah, that's true as well. Yeah, that is true. So, but it's you know for the easiness of talking about it, it's you know.
that's fantastic. Well, we're excited to have you at Great American Music Hall, and we're sad to hear that it might be the last time that you're coming, but that's a good sales and marketing tool. So,
I'm not doing it for that, but it's not. It's look. It's not the last time I will ever come to America. I'll come there
oh,
as but for a vacation. You know, obviously, you know. But it's just that it's just too expensive to tour there, so that's the only reason. But yeah, I should be back in America, propping up a bar somewhere. So you know, I'll let people know when I'm coming.
that's
But
fantastic.
you know, in the meantime, I'll see everybody in May.
Yes, absolutely. And are you going to be touring most of California or?
Yeah, yeah, just doing the West Coast. So we're just doing San Francisco and then Los Angeles and Pomona, and then we fly back from there. Oh, we're probably interested.
Well, I'm sure you have a lot of relevant knowledge, so.
Yeah, well, let's hope so.
Well, it's fantastic to chat with you and looking forward to the show on May 8th at Great American Music Hall.
Okay, you're gonna be there.
Yes.
Okay, well, you can buy me a beer then.
Yes, I will.
Fantastic. All right, that's a date. All right, I'll see you there, Aisha.
Okay, take care.
You too. Thanks a lot. Bye now.
Okay.